Good afternoon, chat. Welcome in, everybody. I'm going to be doing some Terra Invicta today. I've been doing a resistance playthrough, and I've been having a lot of fun with it, so I thought I'd do a little streaming of it today. Hopefully you all enjoy it. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. So it is 2040. And just a brief recap on where I am and how I got there. I've done a few playthroughs now, and I've really been enjoying the EU, mostly to get Great Europa, which is what we did here. That was our first great nation. And then the other thing that I did was I wanted to play around with the Republic of Taiwan, or the Republic of China, I guess. So I took China, took Taiwan, ceded everything to Taiwan, made the Republic of China, and then did the Pacific Defense League. So that gets Korea, Japan, the Philippines, and a bunch of the Pacific Isles together. Then I went in and I took India, and I broke India. Actually, I didn't take India first. I started the Caliphate, and I kind of slow rolled the Caliphate a little bit. I had the Great Caliphate completely researched, and I had the Muslim Brotherhood, or whatever it's called, the one that gets you everything. Kind of slow rolled. I didn't do a lot of conquest early on. I actually did a lot of unifications. One thing I did learn with creating great nations is when you're doing unifications, you get the armies that the other nations have, and you get their resources as well. Whereas if you conquest, you lose any of the armies they have, disappear, and thank you for the sub. Much appreciated. So anyway, once I had the Caliphate up and running, then I went in and I did a couple of coups in India and ceded all of the Caliphate's territory from India. So this is all that's left of India here. The problem with doing the Republic and the Pacific Defense League is that there's no way to get Tibet involved in anything. The only thing I haven't done is throw the Himalayan states in there, and I believe we do have a claim on that. No, China has a claim on that, so we can't do them either, because the last territory that China had was Urumqi, and we took that over as the Caliphate as well. So the Caliphate is now its full growth. So we've got all of the territories in Africa, in the Middle East, in Central Asia, and all of the territories in the Pacific as well that are part of the Caliphate. So the Caliphate now looks pretty beefy as far as population goes. We've got 3 billion people here, 3.3 billion people in the Caliphate. The other thing that I did, and this was kind of unintentional, the servants kept coming in and taking various countries in here. So what I did was I came in and I couped them out of Thailand, and then I just created the Southeast Asian Alliance to make it easier to get rid of them if they kept popping up. And then I actually ended up having enough CP left over that I just went in and I took it and I kept it. So it's a bit messy in that we've got technically 4 great nations here between the Caliphate, the EU, the Pacific Defense League, and the Southeast Asian Alliance. But we now control most of the Eastern Hemisphere. I don't see on this screen where it shows you, but did the math. We've got about 6 billion of the world's 9 billion population under our control. You can see that here. So our global approval rating is 65%. There's 9.4 billion people, and we've got about 6.2 billion of those in our inside of our great nations. So that just leaves what's left of India, sub-Saharan Africa, Australia, New Zealand, which I had to nuke because there was an alien invasion there. So there's really not much left of New Zealand. Sorry, New Zealand. Had to do the same very early on with Mexico. So Mexico's down to 1 CP because aliens landed both in Mexico City and in Monterey. But I didn't much care because it was nowhere near my territories. So obviously that leaves the US and Canada and then all of South America. So the Western Hemisphere is kind of on its own, and I've just been letting it do its thing. As long as the servants haven't been taking too much territory, I've been pretty content to let this go. Even with the initiative in charge of the US, I haven't really been overly concerned about it, to be frank. And then the situation in sub-Saharan Africa is this, which means the servants have maybe 2 or 3 countries globally, and they're all small potatoes. So we control pretty much everything. So that's kind of how I did my formations here. Started with the EU and then expanded out from there. Then moved over and did China, then the Caliphate, and then the Southeast Asian Alliance. And obviously the Caliphate, just based on the number of nations that it can put together, is one of the bigger ones that you can do. It probably would have been smarter to do the Southeast Asian Alliance with China in charge, but I kind of wanted to play around with Taiwan, specifically because when you do that, you go to a full democracy, and your research and unity the scores are just a little bit better, the economy wise and unity wise. So it was kind of interesting to get there. Now, as far as research goes and the aliens go, you can see I have kept myself well under the cap. I actually just barely started going up into above the 70 mark. I was at 60 up until a couple of years ago. I had built almost no space assets specifically to keep the hate meter down until I had a chance to get ring habs researched. And now that that's done, I've started building out my my space assets a little bit. So what we've got is essentially 3 points to work from. So I'm building a ring hab in high Earth, which is here somewhere. There it is, extreme Earth orbit. And I started thinking that extreme Earth orbit and extreme planetary orbits in general are the place where I want to build my shipbuildings, because it's easier to transfer interplanetarily between those than it is if you put them in low Earth. It takes a lot less delta V to move between planets. And then once you get there, you can refuel and move into low orbit if you have to. Most of what we did here was all very low profile, low mission control stuff that I've had since the beginning of the game, just to boost my research a bit. So none of this in low Earth orbit is actually important at all. The only thing that I'm really worried about is getting my my ring hab online for my shipbuilding in Earth orbit. Obviously, we also own Mercury orbit, so I've got another shipbuilding station in extreme Mercury orbit, and then we own all of the research sites on the planet itself. And this is where we'll start building out most of our ring habs once we start building a fleet and getting rid of the aliens on the inner system. We also have Ceres, so I own all the sites there. We don't have a ring hab up there yet. I haven't decided if I'm going to put one there yet or not. I probably will, just for refueling. And then at Mars, we have an extreme Mars orbit ring hab going up as well. And I forgot to rename that. And then we took all of the good sites on Mars as well. The only other place where we have assets is the moon. And normally I would let these go, but the problem is that the mining sites there are probably the best fissiles in the game, which is weird, but it is what it is. So I don't want to give that up. This one's not producing because I'm actually upgrading it, but this site is the same. It's got really, really good fissiles. And I've got good bank on all of my resources up here. Almost the entirety of my research is being generated from planet-based, Earth-based planetary assets. So my counselors and the research that I'm generating from my nations is pretty much where most of that's coming from. We have done a lot to get our counselors up to speed. This one needs to go to ground. I just noticed that she's been discovered by the aliens. So these guys are all pretty much super powerful. He's the newest one, and I'm still working on getting his admin up so that he doesn't have to carry quite as many admin boosting orgs. So he's the weakest of the counselors that I have, but everybody else is pretty much full on really good at their specific jobs at this point. Most of them are now just being dedicated to advising countries. So as far as the EU goes, we're at 6.5 on our Miltech invasion age, which has been really impressive. We've had to fight off 4 different alien invasion landings, including 2 at once. So we had an invasion spawn here, and then where did I'm trying to remember where, oh yeah, that was the one that, it was split between New Zealand and Gawadi. So I ended up having to nuke New Zealand to get rid of that one. So those 2 landed at the same time, and then we've had 2 others that came in where I did have to use nukes on Mexico, and the other one we just fought off normally, which happened in Central Asia. But because we own all of this territory, it's been pretty easy to deal with these for the most part. So research-wise, we're pretty deep, and there's nobody that's even touching us as far as being able to compete research-wise, so I don't have to invest a lot of points to be able to control that. Mostly at this point, I'm currently investing in all the tier 3 habs so that we have those available when we start spinning them up. And then I'm working towards H-Orion for my primary engine before we get into antimatter stuff. So as far as the H-Orion goes, we are pretty close. We're not missing much. Yep, it's already in progress. So heavy pulse propulsion, which is almost done. And then all that's left after that is H-Orion drive, which will be our primary drive. Moving forward, right now what I'm doing is working on some mini-mag Orions to be my primary fleet for the initial push here. I have let myself get a little bit behind, so like the servants actually have a fleet of garbage ships in low Earth that we're going to have to blow up. But I want to make sure that I'm ready to go before we actually go into full-on alien hate here. So once the Mars ring hab and the Earth ring hab are done, then I'm going to start pumping out ships and trying to gain control. That's where everything is going to be new to me, is that I haven't done a lot of pushing back with my space assets in any of the campaigns that I've done, because I've been trying to figure out the best path to get there. So anyway, that is how we got to where we are now. I think that covers the basics of what we did to get here. I have been playing a little bit with ship design, but not a ton. I still don't know really what the best loadout's going to be for my fleet, so I've been playing around with a few ship designs and then popping them into skirmish mode and testing them out a little bit just to see how they perform. And as you would expect, they're still mostly non-competitive, but they should be fine going up against the human factions. And once the ring habs are up with layered defense arrays, we should be able to defend those pretty easily as well. So, all right, so that takes us to where we are right now, which is essentially waiting for the ring habs to finish and then starting to build our fleet. Probably going to end up losing all of my stations that I have in low Earth orbit, but we don't really care about them at this point. They aren't providing too much benefit to us. I could probably actually just go through and start decommissioning them all, because the bonuses that we're getting from them are relatively small as far as research is concerned compared to what we're getting from our counselors. And we can replace most of that stuff once we actually have control of Earth orbit, and once we have all of our assets up around Mercury. All right, so what do we want you to do? He doesn't really have, nobody really has a primary job anymore other than advising until we get our space assets up, and I can then send him into orbit and let him start doing stuff up there. But obviously we need some ships for him to zoom around on, and we need some space marines to help him out a little bit. That's really loud. Let's quickly check. Pretty sure that our unrest is 0 everywhere. It is pretty much, and our public opinion is also really good. I mean, we dominate the caliphate. It's insane. So he doesn't really have a job. Somebody needs to go to ground, and I already forgot who it was. Jillian needs to. So you're going to take over advising for a turn. Over in the PDL. And Jillian is going to go to ground. How's Sean doing? He's doing fine. Anybody else? Nope, everybody else looks good. Oh, and how we doing on XP? So he's a striver. These guys are all quick learners. These are the only two that don't have any bonus to their XP. And I did cycle through counselors through the early game. So as they came up with good traits like quick learner, I would dump the counselors that I had in favor of starting with people with better traits. It really does pay off in the end. I think I'm going to go with security right now. Yeah, and don't sleep on traits like, let's see if I can find one here. Like these social scientists, when you can get these things upgraded. So I've got a few of these. He gives 25% bonus to my social science research, which has really been big, especially when I've been doing Great Nations. One of them has military scientist, I believe, probably her. Yeah, chief military. So that's another big one. That's 35% to military science that she's adding. And I thought I had one more, but I guess not, just those two. But regardless, both military science and social science are massive. So what's the union? Hey, Anand, what's the union with the Japanese flag? That is the Pacific Defense League. So that started out with, and I covered all of those opening moves at the beginning of the episode, so feel free to wind back a little bit. But this started out with China, and I took Taiwan, and then I ceded all of China to Taiwan. And then I took Japan, and Japan owns the Pacific. They're the home territory for the Pacific Defense League, so they united the rest of this territory. They united Japan, the Republic of China, both Koreas, the Philippines, and Borneo. So my opening move I started with, and I covered this earlier, was EU. So I went Great Europa first, and then I did the Chinese strategy here in the Pacific Defense League. And then as I was doing the Pacific Defense League, because I had a lot of open CP, that's when I started doing the Caliphate. And the Caliphate was the last thing that I finished off. I also did the Southeast Asian alliance, mostly out by accident because the servants were over here. So I kept cooing them out of here, and eventually I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to form this semi-great nation and keep control of it. But the Caliphate is easily the powerhouse of the population war here with 3.3 billion. And then we've got just under a billion in Great Europa. And I think we've got like just under 2 billion in the Pacific Defense League, and then another 300 million there. Eventually, if we can get our CP up enough, I'm going to take India back. Although it doesn't really have a ton to offer aside from the population. So I don't know, we'll see how that goes. I may actually do the South American Union. But mostly we're done on Earth. I've accomplished everything that I wanted to do on Earth, which is kind of why I brought the stream up at this point, because now we're getting really ready to do our space assets. Yeah, I think it's time to start harassing the servants again. And maybe I should go in and clean up Iceland. All right, there isn't much we need here. Flare drive is actually kind of decent. No, don't need media center at this point because we aren't going to be putting up any Earth space assets until we clean the aliens out. And for that matter, the rest of the factions. I think we'll go with Energy Institute. Just to get this stuff done. Did I build labs in Elio? Yes, I did. So that was the only thing that I did as far as space assets go until about the last 2 years. I had that is the shipyard. The actual hab itself is not done yet. So for the first 20 or so, 18 years of the campaign, all I had was the 2 on the moon, and then these stations minus the shipbuilding and extreme Earth orbit. These were all here to provide bonuses to my research, but none of them, for the most part, went beyond tier 1. I didn't upgrade these to tier 2 until really late, and then I also claimed the sites on series, but I haven't really upgraded them. I've just barely started to upgrade those to tier 2 in the last year or so. Same with Mercury. Mercury still has a lot of tier 1 stuff on it because I've been trying to stay below the hate cap and unnoticed until I was ready to actually start building a competitive fleet with decent drives, which we do have now. So I've got the I've got, take a quick look. I've got the Orion drive and I've got the Minimag Orion drive, both ready to go. And those are both fairly competitive early on. And then I've got pretty much every weapon you need for early mid to mid game, as far as, you know, being able to compete. with the aliens, but honestly, it's less important. My ships, I think, are less important than having my ring halves up with full point defense. I'm going with 4 point defense on each one of them to make sure that in combination with my ships, I've got good defense up and running. And then I'm going to try and be strategic about where I go to start taking the aliens out. They've got plenty of fleets in the area, that's for sure, because we've already had 4 alien invasions, so they've still got quite a few assets in Earth orbit. But I think nothing that I should be too... the mothership might be troublesome, but I think we can probably overwhelm that with... between missiles and lasers, we should be fine. So we're just kind of waiting for the ring halves to finish, and then once they do, I'm going to start spamming out ships. I haven't really been diligent lately about checking the new orgs because mine are so good and they've been pretty synergistic that I haven't really needed anything. We're also pretty good on mining resources, so like trying to fit in space for an extra 10% hasn't really been a priority. But I have been looking for stuff that offers good science bonus. I think we're set. So the things that I've been concentrating on are the things that offer big bonuses to specific research types. So like the 10% energy research, we've got one for 15% social science research, there's 15% materials research. I'm really getting a lot of value out of orgs and traits from my counselors. All right, so you can go back to full-time advising here. We could probably pick one of these guys off and turn them. The servants haven't got a lot of power, although I'm not sure at this point if you turn a servant counselor, if it gives you intelligence on aliens as well. You don't really need to do hostile takeover. Yeah, I think I'm just going to double up on advise missions right now. They sent a mothership to Earth to do what? To land an alien invasion, or to actually start picking off space assets? You shouldn't. At 2034, you should still be under the hate cap. Generally speaking. Unless you really went ham on your space assets. All right, when is my Earth station going to be done? The ring core is done. I think it's time to start spamming. I don't really need to wait for the solar farm to come online. We've got plenty of extra power here. We've got 2, 4, we've got 5 layered defense arrays. I've also got 105 extra, so I could drop a battle station on there. It won't finish until my power is actually already up. 125 for that one. That's 250. Yeah, that would cover it. going to drop that on there. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to drop it on there. Current and under construction power modules will not generate enough electric. Really? That's going to be 125. That's 250. Which means minus 15. Because we're at 105, which means that puts us 15 over. So minus 50 or plus 15 from that. Yeah, they're right. It's just barely not going to be enough. I could try and replace the fusion reactor array with the farm. That would make up for it. It's going to drop 85 power off. That should be fine. And then we can put the battle station there. How long does it take to build? 180 days. There we go. Now we're covered. All right, so Earth is ready to go as far as building ships is concerned. Now, I would also like to get Spaceworks going, but that I'm not going to have the power for. Not until I have a chance to upgrade these other fusion reactor arrays. And we've got 2, 4, 6 slots to build from. I think that's fine. I don't know how much faster a Spaceworks actually is. It says able to assemble warships in a fraction of the time. But I don't know what a fraction means. It doesn't give you, it doesn't quantify that for you. It has 500 crew. So it's got 5 times the crew. I wonder if there is a chart out there that quantifies that somewhere. How much faster a Spaceworks is versus a shipyard. Because then I wouldn't need 6 of them. I could probably get by with like 2. Maybe. Which means 120 versus 40 power. Yeah, so if I had 2 instead of 6, it would be the same power draw. All right, that's Earth. The other one we need to look at is when is Mars going to be done? Mars is not going to be done until July. And I don't want to kick things off until Mars is online with power. Otherwise, we won't be able to defend it. So I think we're looking at July, which means probably May I can start building ships in Earth orbit. I could have sworn I had him doing a detain mission. I guess not. All right, let's start the flare drive. I'm probably going to use the flare drive on colony ships. And another change that I've made from my previous run-throughs is I haven't, and that's obviously evident by the fact that I've kept under the hate cap, is I did not spam out research nano factories and other space assets as early as I could on Mercury. With the new change to research centers, it just doesn't seem worthwhile. So the goal here was, with the change in the last patch, to stay under the alien hate meter for as long as possible, get as much research as I could done using Earth assets, and then get those ring habs up. All right, let's detain. I don't really have anything for you to do. I guess I'll just have him keep doubling up on advise until we have some CPs open up for him to defend. How are we doing as far as Miltech here goes? We're doing okay. Obviously, Miltech's not a priority for them. It is for them, which is how we got to 6.5 in the first place. It might not be a bad idea to get another Navy going in the Caliphate. We've only got 2. And then you are still in robotics age, but moving up. You haven't used colony ships? Yes. So what you can do, since I have yet to research the mission to Jupiter, I don't think we have anyway. I should double check that and make sure that the AI didn't do it at some point while I wasn't paying attention, but I'm pretty sure they did not. Yeah, mission to Jupiter is still not researched. So what I could do is I could send out a colony ship with what am I trying to say? It's easier if I just go there. So outer system colony ship, and we'll just do, like, I don't know, frigate, I guess. So what you do is you put your platforms on them, and then you just send them out with something that has good cruise engine on it. And then once you get there, you set up a an outpost around the planet. You can't settle the planet itself until you get a probe to it. But then once the probe gets there, after you've researched the tech, then you're ready to go, and you can just build directly on the planet because you've got your probe there. You don't have to wait to launch from your assets from Earth. So it's especially helpful when you want to do something like, once you've started cleaning out the aliens from the inner system and you want to get yourself set up like on Pluto, if you send a colony ship out that way, you're ready to go way before your probe ever gets there. Now, obviously, if you're going to do it, you're probably sending them out undefended, so there's a chance that they get picked off. But the idea here is we're going to try and clean up the inner system before we ever research mission to Jupiter. And then we'll slowly push out into the outer solar system from there. Colony ships are also good. Like, if you've got ships that are disabled or limping around the universe somewhere, you can send a colony ship with your fleet, and you can set up a station like wherever you happen to be in the universe and refuel. In the galaxy, I should say. All right, so that's done. This is Mercury. That's Earth. I want to see what my power draw here is now. So we've got 270 extra. That will get used by this bad boy with 30 to spare, which means this guy only needs 90, and he's going to be... So we'll have some extra power, so I'll be able to replace the fusion reactor array with another farm. I love the look of ring habs. I think they're really cool. All right, and we took... All right, so now we need to discover her true loyalty, and then we can try and turn her. So I think I'm going to swap out Samad with Kavindra. I've had her doing dedicated advise here, but I'm going to tag team that servant counselor and see if we can flip her. March, so we still got April, May is when I'm going to start. That's fine, whatever. May is when I'll start looking at serious ship design for what I want to do moving forward. And I think I'm probably going to use... if I can even find it. I'm going to use a guide for that as far as how I want to, because I don't have plasma unlocked yet. So not being overly familiar with ship design yet, still, even though this is like my 6th playthrough, I'm probably going to use a guide to help me out with that for a good ship breakdown. All right, we're going to take you and have you investigate her. You are going to keep detaining her. And you are now going to go full-time advise. And I apologize, I need to take a quick AFK. I will be back in just a moment. Sorry about that. is now your full-time job. We aren't going to be building any of these until we actually clear out the inner solar system. Because the whole point of those is to stick them on a ring hab and then get 3 of each one in low Earth orbit. But that won't be until we actually control low Earth orbit. All right, did we find out her true score? We did, so now we can try to flip her. We have the 24th. We're almost done with heavy pulse propulsion, which will get us to the H Orion drive. And tactical drones is almost done, which will get us, what, extra 5% in build army. We aren't really going to be building any more armies, I don't think, but there's no sense in not researching it. The EU alone has a ridiculous number of armies at this point. Foundry. I have forgotten what a foundry is. That is the upgrade for the Skunk Works. I am definitely going to use multiple combat ship classes. I want to have a versatile fleet. Like, it made sense to go with single ship classes with my earlier strats that I was using, where it was essentially just throwing as many missiles as I could at them. But we've got technology now that should allow me to mix in point defense with some missile ships, with some support ships. So I want to build a fleet that's kind of versatile if I can. All right, so you have turn counselor. And you are going to continue to detain her. And it looks like we've got some fauna growing, but we'll take care of that next turn once we've turned this counselor. April, so we're 1 month away from getting into some serious ship design. Yes, I have been imposing sanctions on pretty much everybody now, since we're at a point where we don't really have to worry about anything that's going on Earth, unless the aliens invade, which there's pretty much no place they can go that we can't get to fairly quickly. All right, we've got her. Oops, wrong button. We will have her fail her missions at less than 75%. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tune that down to like 65, because I've turned a couple in the past and they've gone away pretty quick. She's not great, but I think she's one of their better ones. We can now find out, actually. Let's see what they've got. She's pretty decent. But once we have full-on alien aggro, then I'm going to start assassinating all of the servant counselors again. And let's check out what they've got as far as resources. Almost nothing in space. So that garbage fleet that they have is going to underperform since they're over their MC cap. And they also have almost no resources available either. Well, I mean, that's obvious because I haven't built any ships. You know what? We need to sabotage that. It's very important that we not let them get to that. Next up, we need to see if we can find a protectorate counselor so we can see where they're at in their research. This is series, and that's just ground support there. Do I want to do command center first? Again, I'm not going to be building any of this stuff until later. Let's go with Foundry first. I don't think it really matters a whole lot. The next big thing for us is going to be antimatter farms, and we're still quite a ways away from that. Because we've just barely, we're almost done with the first tech there. Or you know what? When's this done? Let's switch this and finish this cycle. Well, next cycle. Because that will give us the H Orion drive. If I can get that researched before the middle of May, we can start equipping our ships with that drive. All right, you can go. How many of these do we have? Just the one. So I'm going to have Kavindra. Oops. I'm going to have Kavindra take care of that. And I'm going to see if you can go find somebody from the Protectorate. So we can start sabotaging them. Oh, you know what? Speaking of sabotage, well, we'll do it next cycle. I need to make sure I send somebody on a sabotage mission. All right, take me there for that, because I want to see what I've got going on here. Did I put layered defense arrays up here? I did. So we're just waiting for power to finish, and then that will bump our fissile production back up again. Because this one is producing 21 plus all of our bonuses. We get 2 really good fissiles on the moon, which is rare. At least in my experience. All right, good. So that unlocks the H Orion drive. Hopefully it unlocks this turn. Which now leaves us with no real goal, because that was the last goal that I had was to get to H Orion drive. So let's take a look at what else is available out here. We could unlock the mini mag drive, which we're actually working on. Once magnetic nozzles is done, then we get advanced mini mag too. So that's really it. What is the rest of this stuff? I'm bunch of automation. The Methuselah therapies would probably be good because I believe that extends the life of your counselors. We already did the early one, so they already get an extra 10 years on average. You need that for Methuselah therapies as well. I'm not overly concerned at this point about defending the Earth. We're in a pretty good spot there. Is there anything further up that's still red? What's this? We don't really care about that, at least not right now. Late game torch drives. We could start thinking about that. Z-pinch. Applied artificial intelligence. Advanced particle cannons. Ultracapacitors. I think ultracapacitors is probably where, yeah, phased array lasers. That's what we want because we want to get to phasers as quickly as we can. I think that's the next big. Yep, right here. Phased array lasers. So we need ultracapacitors next. And I should probably start thinking about colony habs, but we've got a lot of cleanup to do in space itself before we actually have to worry about that. And I already forgot. What am I doing this for? That's right, advanced mini-mag. Which we only have a 25% chance at. I may save scum that. We'll see. Have to keep an eye on this. This will be done in June, so I'll put a save right before this completes. And if I don't see advanced mini-mag unlock, I may save scum it. Yay, look, Protectorate. And he has a loyalty score of 0. So we'll try and capture him then and turn him next. And we still need the H. Orion drive to unlock. Oh, nice. That's actually like a 30% chance one. Yeah, we can let those finish. I don't much care about that. Oh, I do care about that. That's the second time they've gotten that satellite one off. Their Miltech must be insane now. Yep, 6.7. Jeez. I've only gotten that event once. I've had to hardcore dedicate to Miltech for a couple of years to get it to where I'm at. All right, we want the nuclear torpedoes for motherships. All right, what finished? That is Luna. All right, so there's some defense up here now, at least. That's good. I don't think we need anything else on the core right now. Look at that defense score. So the only thing we haven't done is put a ring hab around Ceres yet. And once I start building out and spamming some ships, I'm going to throw a ring hab up around Ceres as well. Maybe I should do that now before I instigate the hate. How long would it take? It's going to put 5 mission control up right away. I'll still be under the cap. And it takes 90 days. Yeah, I think we do it now. That way I've got a refueling station out there and I can think about defenses for Ceres as well. And we'll do that with fusion reactor farms. All right, that's 1,000 power. We want 1 ag complex. One ag comp is 120. So we've got 1,000 power. Whoops. Let's do 1 space works. This will actually be a good test for how much quicker it is to build out of a space works. And then how much power does a battle station take? 240. So let's do 2 battle stations here. And then I think that's it for now. We'll expand this later. That finishes in July, and the rest finishes in October. So how do you actually turn an enemy agent? Loyalty and the detain mission. Yes. So it took me a while to figure this out. And by the way, a really good tip for anybody who's new to the game: use the codex if you don't know how to do something, because I was so frustrated by trying to figure out how to turn enemy agents. So under your missions list, if you go and scroll down, turn counselor. What you need to do is you actually have to know, you must know the target's actual loyalty attribute to attempt the mission, which is what was frustrating me. Was I was detaining the counselors, but you have to keep investigating the counselor until you know what their actual loyalty score is. So it's not enough. Who did the detain last time? You did. It's not enough to know their loyalty score when it's red. It has to be white. You have to know the actual loyalty score, not their estimated score. Once you know their actual score, then you can turn them. And you turn them by using the turn counselor mission, which is based on persuasion. And then once you turn them, you get visibility over all of their counselors, all of their missions, what they're researching. It's actually super helpful in the early game, by the way. It's how I pretty much crippled the servants very early on, was I once I figured out how to do the turn agent, I just went around and assassinated all of their agents over and over again before they were ever in contact with the aliens. So you don't generate any hate, and it keeps the servants really weak. All right, so you need to... Who has the higher investigation score? They're almost the same. And the reason that I actually dump points into this, even though it's already above 90%, is if the counselor that I'm trying to detain moves, it will change the success rate depending on what country they move to. So I kind of hedge my bets here and assume they're going to move somewhere where I'm actually going to need some ops points in it. And then you are going to be the one who investigates that person so that we can pinpoint their loyalty score. Nothing else is open. We don't need to do any defense. And now we need to start thinking about building ships, because Mars is going to be done July 2nd. Takes, depending on the ship, it takes between 90 and 100 and I think 90 and 180 days. So I think we need to start building ships in Earth orbit now. So that being said, let's start looking at our ship classes. And I need to flip out to look at this design guide. I know how to design a ship. I'm just looking for a decent guide on construction, and I haven't really found all that many. Troop transports. We aren't going to be assaulting any assets. Well, maybe we are. Those require quite a bit of crews. We need a fuel escort. Utility slots per 1,000 tons. Looks like escorts are the best for utility ships. And then cruisers after that. All right, so I'm kind of on my own here, which isn't too surprising. I know there's some guides out there, and there's some general thoughts on how people build their ships, but I'm just going to have to use skirmish and test things out. Do I want to do frigates, or do I want to do monitors? Frigates have nose weapons available. points, 2 nose hard points on a destroyer. Hull, 2 hull, 1 nose. 680 tons. 840 tons. I don't like 2 and 2 here, especially for the trade-off in tonnage. I think frigates offer the best value to weight ratio for ships that we can spam to go out with battleships. All right, and this is going to be... I wish I still don't understand the difference between all of these. Like, interdictor seems like the best. I don't even know if it matters since I'm really designing these on my own anyway. I'm going to go with interdictor for the frigates, and then I think I'll go with space superiority for the battleships. All right, armor. Not going with a ton of armor because it really increases your mass by a ton. And these guys should have higher thrust. I guess the Orion drive is better for both of them. Holy cow, is it heavy. 367 tons. So these have better crews. Yeah, I think I want to go with Mini Mag Orion for these guys. Now, the weird thing about these reactors is they don't tell you how much they actually weigh. So you actually have to look at your wet mass to see. I think you do anyway, how much it's actually adding. Two tons per gigawatt. And I think solid core fission is still my best bet here. If I put this on there, that increases my weight by 100 tons. Let's take it off, put a compact solid core on there. Yeah, the weight difference really isn't that much. So I'm going to once again look at the guide. Does it offer any insight into power plants? It changes your delta V. All right, so I should be looking for how much cost and delta V it adds. So a gas core fission changes me almost nothing in delta V. What does solid core fission? Again, almost no difference. These are pretty cheap. And none of them are really all that expensive. What about a vapor core fission? Yeah, none of them change the cost by all that much. So I guess I just go with whatever's the most efficient as far as power goes. Which, I mean, that's the best one I have, so I guess I use that. Battery. These weigh a lot, but they have twice the power. So that knocks it down to 103. That does make a pretty significant difference in my cruise delta V by weight. Radiators, this one's an easy one, tin droplet. Utility modules. We don't know yet because I don't know how I'm gonna arm it. I think my frigates are gonna be missile boats. Now, lance heads are 10. Vipers are 12. Riverjacks are 18. And this is kind of to overwhelm point defense. And then it's either coil guns or point defense. I think we go point defense here. And then we do coil cannons on the front. Like so. Any tips on getting enough research to control the 3 technology slots while trying to stay ahead of the curve on projects and components? So the way I did it for this run through, and I pretty much took over all of the research slots in like in about 5 years, was number 1, orgs. Orgs for your counselors are very, very important. So getting good orgs, and obviously you have to kind of balance this out depending on what kind of counselor you ended up getting in the first place. And I can walk over there and show you here in a sec. But orgs that add engineering slots and that add high percentage to science. So like I've got a couple of orgs, one that adds 15% to my social science, one that adds 15% to my military science. Finding those organizations early on is really helpful. So concentrate on those. Obviously you need admin so that you can actually equip the orgs. So the way that I built my counselors was I got them enough admin orgs so that they were maxed out. And then as I could, I would increase their administration so that I could remove the admin orgs and then add in science-based orgs where I could. So that's tip number 1. Your counselors and your orgs are going to be really big for that. The second is which nations on the planet you control. So the EU is great for research early. especially if you can get to like Great Europa. But even just the initial, the full-on EU offers, I think, twice as much research as the United States once you've actually got everything all put together. So once the EU is a complete great nation, it offers a much better return on investment than the US does for knowledge. And then you've got to keep, you've got to keep dipping pips into research. And I can show you how I've been balancing mine for this run through. Staying below the alien hate cap is still key as far as I'm concerned, but you can also build just regular orbitals, not the tier 2 ones, just the tier 1s to start fairly early on, and then get your research stations up there for each of the different sectors of research so that you're getting somewhere between 15 and 30% research in each of those. I think those were probably the biggest early game keys, because the tier 1 orbitals don't cost hardly any mission control. And then the other nice thing, and this is another key about when you do the EU, what you want to do is I did very little conquering when I was putting together the EU. It was mostly just straight up unifying. So I was actually taking the long way to do it, but it was worth it in the long run, because while you're waiting to unify the smaller EU nations, dump all your pips into mission control for those small EU nations, all of them. And then by the time you unify them, all of these small countries are going to be dropping 9 to 12 mission control into the EU once you've unified them. So you let France and whoever else has been unified into the EU do the regular pips, put your knowledge in there, your economy, your welfare, all of that stuff goes into the big nation. But all the tiny nations, all you do is just pump mission control. And then when you unify all of those, you have a massive amount of mission control left over. That also contributes to your science. So any unused mission control, you get a little bit of money from, and you get a little bit of science from. Yeah, exactly, Anand. That's really what makes the EU valuable. Of all the great nations that I've done, it really feels like the Eurasian Union is trash. And especially since when you can get, if you do the EU, you're going to go to Great Europa anyway. So let the Eurasian Union do whatever it wants, and then go in later, coup it, and then bring it all into the EU as Great Europa. I think the US is a trap too, because number one, it takes a while to get the US going, and it takes so much CP cap, and you get very little mission control out of it, and your research is fairly static. All right, what are we doing? Utility modules. So I want a magazine. I want component armor. We want a heat sink, but we don't want it to weigh too much. So it's either lithium or heavy lithium, and that's 256 tons. We're already down to 74, so we're going to have to bump up our propellant. That takes us down to 71. And that takes us down to 68. Now it has a massive capacity, so that's your trade-off. But honestly, I haven't really run into overheating problems. So I think I'm just going to go standard lithium. Yeah. So dumping into MC for the little tiny nations is really big, because unless you plan on invading every single one of those nations, which is going to hurt your economy in the long run, you're going to have a whole bunch of armies, and you're going to end up hurting the nation as a whole once it's unified. I would recommend doing it the long way, because number one, it takes 6 months generally for any of the nations that you're going to unify. It takes 6 months before you can federate them, and then another 6 months before you can unify them. So while that's all going on, especially in the little tiny nations like Ireland, the Balkans, the Czech Republic, all of those nations, just all you do is just pump MC, and then by the time you unify them, every single one of them is at max MC. I didn't even do it as efficient. I've done it with another playthrough that I had where I can't even remember how much mission control I had in just the straight EU. It was before I even got into Great Europa. I had something like 130 mission control. It was ridiculous. All right, so we've got our heat sink. We don't have any laser weapons, so we don't need a laser engine. I'm not a big fan of the ECM until you actually get the upgraded one. But we're going to be going up against human factions as well, so since I don't have anything else to put there, I'm going to put that. And we're going to call this... What do we want to call these? Friggin' missile boat Mark 1. All right, we'll save that. All right, so those will be our primary missile boats. Then we want to go with... Let's put together a battleship with a bunch of point defense. And this will be space superiority. And let's auto design it. I'm curious to see what they do. Obviously, we don't want all of these missiles. We definitely don't want a railgun. So I think the coil cannon Mark II is good. We don't need the remass scoop. We don't need marine assault unit. What did they go? They went with the mini mag. And this is where I question, I think these should actually have the Orion drive because they have higher thrust. Oh, shoot. I forgot. We're already going to have to go back and redesign that. I forgot to add extra propellant. That's too much center armor. All right, what do we got for point defense? Let's go with 2 particle. Let's do lasers. You know what? Which of these is better? 4-second cooldown. Let's try this. And then one nuclear torpedo, which those we turn off, and one regular missile bay. which means utility modules, we need a laser engine and a magazine. All right, and we need to pump our cruise delta V up to 100. All right, and we're going to call this our BS. All right, let's save that. And then let's go back out here because I already need to change this. What did I call it? I called it the Friggin' Missile Boat Mark 1. So now it's going to be the Friggin' Missile Boat Mark 2. And then we go back out and we delete Friggin' Missile Boat Mark 1. All right, so that's how we're going to go into combat, essentially. I've already got some escorts built. Let me see if I can upgrade those at all. These are just straight up drive at you and throw some missiles in your face to eat up your point defense boats. And I don't think there's a way to improve upon that design. So we leave that one as it is. I think we can get rid of this defense bomber. Yeah, I would already replace these point defense particle beams, I think, with the point defense laser turrets. And honestly, this is essentially the same design that I was going for with the other one that I just built. All right, so what else do we need? A troop transport. Let's take a look at troop transports. And I think that's going to be an escort. Right? Yeah, I think that's what we want to use. So we're going to call this troop boat. I am using the, here, I'll copy and paste it into chat for you. I'm using this as a general guide for what might be a good idea. Now, these guys don't need super efficient engines. They probably could use some armor. But they're just going to sit back. Generally speaking. Apparently you want to armor these fairly heavily. How much does armor cost? It's not terribly expensive. His guide says 50, 20, 30, but that seems excessive. Honestly, the superconducting coil battery is pretty cost effective. Now, what drive do I want to put on here? How much do these cost? They cost a lot of fissiles. So do the mini mags. These are just straight water. Yeah, a lot of these are just straight water. That's, I think, probably the particle drive. Wait, how much delta V do you get out of a ponderomotive drive? They're pretty cheap. Because these don't need combat maneuverability. These are just for taking over assets. Oh, I got to put a power plant on there so I actually know. Yeah, that's probably good. And then some point defense. And I don't know, maybe a coil gun? What is he going for out of curiosity? Yeah, he's looking at 100. He's actually going with a decent performance drive in combat too. Oh, I see why too. Combat acceleration high, so you can escape from like enemy missiles if you need to. Yeah, so then maybe we do make these a little bit more expensive. Problem is fissiles. You really quickly can run out of fissiles. Let's try, what's the advanced pulsar drive? You use way too much propellant on an advanced pulsar drive. You don't use any fissiles, though. It's going to really slow our cruise down. Oh, I haven't put weapons on it yet either. All right, I think that's what I'm going to go with. They cost a ton of water, but you only need a couple of them, if that. All right, so that's our troop carrier. What else do we need? A fuel escort. All right, and these are strictly point defense. And fission platform kit, ECM, always tin droplet. What do I want to do for an engine? What's the difference, I wonder, in efficiency between a pulsar? The cost is the same, so you would definitely not use the advanced pulsar. So I guess the question now is, Cost and fissiles is what is the big difference here, and I don't really want to use them up. So 9.4, 3.3. We haven't added armor yet. That's going to change that. What doesn't it like about must have a drive, a power plant, radiators, battery, armor materials, one propellant tank, an assigned role. Specialty designs like colony ships must also have a utility module that allows them to perform the role's function. It does. Why is the save design grayed out? What am I missing here? I'm confused. What doesn't it like? We have a battery. We have everything. Does it not like the role that I gave it? It doesn't like the role that I gave it for some reason. Weird. Must carry a prospector module. Non-combatant that will deploy behind a main form must carry a prospector module. Does that mean an outpost kit instead of the platform kit? I don't get it. I do not understand. I mean, does it matter if I say it's a patrol vehicle? Instead of an explorer? Or like an inter-system colony ship? We'll call it an inter-system colony ship. That way it deploys behind and tries to avoid combat. Not going to design any colony ships at the moment. So I think I've got everything I need. I think. I guess I should make sure This is all going to be Earth. So we're going to be coming from extreme Earth, and we're going to be going to low Earth. I don't guess it really matters which one we pick. So as long as I have 9.7 kps, and all of those do, then I'm fine. Now, when I want to transfer to Mars, to here. No. Origin here. Destination here. That requires 11.4 kps. Which of my ships doesn't have that? They all do. I made them all with more than 100. I think we're fine. I think the transfer planner is wrong. Yeah, 13 weeks it takes to get there. Can I just cycle through my ships? I don't know what this does. All right, I think we've got the makings of our fleet here. Then the question becomes, how many of each do I bring with me? So how many do I need to build? Holy cow, these battleships cost a lot of fissiles. And a lot of noble metals. All right, that took a while. It's all right, need to set my screen back up again. I did too much flipping back and forth. All right, let's save this. Before I save it, let's get an idea of what we've got here. Arrowwind class destroyer, Seaflower class battleship, Seaflower class battleship. So that's twice we've seen that one. And what happened to... What happened to the servants fleet? Am I blind? I don't see... I don't see their... which screen do I see their ships on? I can't remember now. That's just alien fleets. Well, I could always just select my fleet. Oh wait, that one's at Mars. And what is in Earth orbit? Sierra 6, Sierra 12, Sierra 19. So they're at Dick's Station in low Earth orbit. Why don't I see it? There it is, right there. It was hidden behind an Academy station for some reason. No? Yeah, that is Dick Station. All right, so I forgot why I was doing this. Oh yeah, I was looking at what they had. Cobalt class X escort, Shenlong class escort. So it's a whole bunch of escorts. 11 ships and only 173 attack power. So they're garbage. 9 KPS. This is really what I want to model my first attack after. So they'll have 11 escort class ships. Reaper, Werewolf, Banshee. All right, let's save. Go to the main menu. And I want to practice with the entire fleet. So I'm going to set this up kind of like I would be doing an actual attack. It's not going to be an issue where we actually need to have the fuel escort, because we're just going to be around Earth to start with. So let's import from save. Same with this. I don't know if you actually have to do this. I'm going to switch to the servants. I don't know if I have to import twice or not. It doesn't look like I do, but I'm going to do it anyway. All right, so we'll bring in a fuel escort. We'll bring in a troop boat. And then I'm going to bring in 2 battleships, which were these guys. Yep. And then I'm going to bring in 4 frigates. I mean, this is overwhelming power for what we're facing here. Yeah, they built those fleets really early on, so they've been sitting out there for a while. Plus, their research is trash, so they're way behind us in research. All right. I believe these are alien ships. So he had a bunch of escorts, and I don't actually see... I don't see any of the classes that the servants were using here. Maybe this? It was 11 of them, though. Now, part of the reason why their attack power was so low on the screen is because they hadn't refueled. They were sitting at somebody else's station. So I'm sure they had done some orbital bombardments and kind of run out of fuel and run out of weapons, which is why they were as garbage looking as they were. I think I remember seeing this. So that's what we'll go with. And we'll do 11 of them. 2, 4, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would actually be its full strength fleet power. And we want to do high wall. I forget, rear deploy. I think puts my escorts in the back. Now the question is 2 battleships enough point defense to overcome all of the missiles that these guys are going to be carrying? What countries are the servants stuck in? They've only got 3 and they're all minor. I think they've got 1 point in somewhere in Africa, Nigeria, I think, and a couple in South America. But for the most part, they aren't working with a lot. Yeah, so that put these guys in back, which is good. So you're going to go defensive mode. You're going to go defensive mode. And then who's carrying the nuclear torpedoes? You are. So we want to disable the nuclear torpedoes. Idle. Good. The rest of that's fine. All right, you're carrying nuclear torpedoes as well. We want those idle. And that means you're carrying nuclear torpedoes, and we want those idle. For this battle, anyway. And then the frigates, you guys can do whatever you want. And I think I'm just going to sit. I'm not going to press into them in any way. I will have to steer you up. You guys are just going to turn that way and go, and you're going to do the same. Did I not put the same? I guess I didn't put the same engines on those. And you are going to go up. So that's Q. Not that far. Yeah, like that should be good. And everybody else straight on at them. And I'm going to have to keep my targets straight. So I'm going to have this guy and this guy shoot those 3. These 3 shoot these 4. No, wait, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. You've got 11 versus our 2, 4, 6. So it's essentially each one needs to target 2. So you're going to go with those 2. You're going to go with those 2. Good luck keeping this straight when we get into combat. I'm going to have you target him first. And I'm going to have you target him first. Whoops. Are you locked on? I think so. I'm not going to mess around with radiators at all right now. I'm just going to leave them out. I'm going to have you target him first. I think I've not been hitting the target button correctly. Yeah, you're locked onto somebody. You're not locked onto somebody yet. All right, so those three are good. You are going to lock on to this guy. And I want to stay in tight formation because I want to make sure my PD is effective, because they're gonna hard target one ship, probably, maybe two. So we don't want to get too far away from our support ships. All right. Let's see how this goes. Good. It looks like they're all coming in. So we'll slightly adjust our trajectories here. Not going to go ham on this. All right, let's check our missile batteries are firing. All right, stop, and let's retarget. So now I want you to target that guy with the rest of your missiles. And I want you to target that guy. You to target that guy. All right, let's see how that goes. All right, one of them is coming that way. We're just gonna have to keep an eye out for where their missiles are coming to. Now they're starting to spread out a little bit. I'm not falling for this trap. All right, our missiles are out. All right, they're going to straighten out. They're going to straighten out. I think you're fine. My ships are faster than my missiles are. All right, let's see if our PD is effective or not. It's looking good so far. Not a lot hitting. We're hitting them, though. Yep, they're hard targeting the battleship. All right, we need to start turning because they're blowing by us now. We've done some damage to them. They've done a little bit of damage to us. Let's turn that way. Let's bring you around this way. Let's bring you around this way. Whoop. That's frustrating sometimes. All right, let's see how that goes. I'm going to bring you around this way. I think you're good for now. Actually, turn this way a little bit. All right, we've taken out a couple of their ships. 2, 4, 6. They're down 3 ships, 4 ships, 5. The ship has a weapon. The ship has a weapon on focus fire mode, but has not set a target. Well, let's set a target. Why is this one still telling me? Oh, it's this one. Nothing's in range. Or that's my ship. There we go. There we go. Two, 4. There's 5 left. All right, these guys are by us. So let's start moving this way. And I think I can bring these guys back now. And they can actually fire their missiles. So let's take them off defensive and go into attack posture. Do you not have... Oh, you only have defensive weapons, so never mind. You just keep going that way. All right, this looks like it's well in hand and everybody's going to survive. I need to set more targets, though. So let's have you target that guy. Let's have you target that guy. And let's have you target that guy. And you target that guy. All right, we did it. Everybody target him. So this appears that it's going to be effective against the servants anyway. Oh, and you, I forgot what your name is. Target him. Look at all those leftover missiles just floating out in space. All right, everybody, come back around. We don't have a lot of maneuverability here. And I think we're out of weapons too. But mission accomplished. I think we've done what we need to do. Do you not have any missiles left? Did you already fire them? Oh, it's idle, that's why. All right, let's put it on super speed. I think we count this as a victory for sure. And I don't think these guys have the maneuverability to actually catch that. But we won. So that's definitely going to be effective against the humans. Now, let's see if it's going to be effective against the aliens. So once again, we are going to go with 2 of you. And then oop, 4 of you. And this is mostly because I want to see if it's going to be effective against a mothership. And I want to see if these are any good as well. All right, so that's going to be what we'll do there. And let's do 1 mothership. And again, this is going to be high wall, rear. 3 stacked lines, long range combatants to the rear. I don't want rear then. I want... Yeah, that works. All right, let's see if we've got enough to get through their point defense. All right, so you are full defensive. Turn and run. Go, go, go. You are also, for now, turn and run. Although you do have nukes, and we are going to put those on idle for now. And then everybody else, I wish there was a way to multi-select. And this test is just to see if we can get through its point defense or not. So go. Whee! We have no defense against their plasma weapons, except essentially armor, which really isn't much of a defense at all. So I fully expect to lose ships here. Which one is he shooting at? The escort. That's fine. His job is just to get off as many missiles as he can. Is his missile bay damaged? Magazine is at 0%. Fire control. Ah, that's why he can't fire. Get your nose in. I think our point defense is enough to kill his missiles, but we got problems when it comes to his lasers. Now, if we don't have enough missiles to get through his point defense, then it's going to be up to coil guns. And I'm really interested to see if we can handle that. Looks like our point defense is good. And we're starting to get coil weapons off. Is it enough to get any of it enough to get through the point defense? We haven't overwhelmed it yet. Hopefully when the missiles get there. Part of the problem is our missiles are actually slower than our ships. All right, looks like we survived the photon blasts. Come on, missiles, do your thing. Oh shoot, did I? Who has nukes? I think I forgot to save my nukes. Yeah, I did. They already fired them. Crap. I meant to save those till I was up close. Nope, I don't think any of my missiles got through. So we're going to have to take a different approach with motherships, I think. All right, let's try this again. I want to save my nukes until I'm right on top of him this time. All right, so we're doing two of you. Yep. Is that right? Did I do 4 of them? And then I did 2 of the escorts. And then I did 1 troop and 1 fuel. I think maybe I need 1 more frigate. And then we are doing mothership. We are doing high wall, center, I think tight is right. All right, let's try that again. And this time I need to turn off the nukes on the battleships until we're up close. So you, turn off your nukes. You, do the same. You are fully defensive and need to just run the other way. You actually have missiles. And I believe they're nukes as well. So I'm going to turn those off, and I'm going to let him come in behind and launch his. We'll see if it's effective at all. Do I want to have these guys save any of their missiles until we get up close? Yeah, let's turn off everybody's missiles until we're up close. Although, we'll have to see who he focus fires, and we'll just let that one go off as quickly as we can. What just happened? So everybody's turning off their stuff. All right, here we go. Let's try this again. And then once we get close, we refire salvos. I don't want you to go down too far. Like that, maybe? Let's see how that goes. All right, go. And obviously this is the extreme version. I think there's only one mothership around Earth, and we aren't going to engage it unless we absolutely have to. But at some point, we're going to have to attack it. All right, who are you targeting? You're targeting this guy. So you are now going to be weapons free. Go. Hopefully he can get some missiles off before he loses targeting. Wait, why are they... He already lost. He already lost his ability to target. All right. Everybody's going to go weapons free now. You wouldn't think it would be that hard to target a ship that big. Oops. Those are nukes, not yet. Those are missiles, yes. All right, go. Where on earth are these missiles going? A lot of projectiles in the air. All right. Should I blast the nukes out? Am I close enough? Let's wait just a little bit longer. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough to get by their point defense. Yeah, I think we're going to need more ships. We can't get by their point defense. All right, let's send out the nukes. Nuke. And where's my other battleship? Now, what about you? I want you to turn around and go at him. Some of these missiles, I don't know where they're going. Yeah, it's still not enough projectiles to get through. Oh, we got one. It didn't do any damage, though. All right, buddy boy. Time for you to target him. So much point defense. I don't think a single missile got through. We had a few coil rounds get through. Yeah, so it's either going to have to be like another half dozen ships and just wait to fire until we're right on top of them so that the point defense can't shoot it down, or we just wait until we have better tech later on. Now, the problem with plasma, number one, I am going to do that. Yes, you're right. But that's a later game thing. This is just to test and see if what we have now is enough. And it's certainly not with this strategy. I think what we'll have to do is like sweep around the edges, get really close and wait to fire our missiles, and just understand that we're going to lose a couple of ships on the way in. But plasma also doesn't get through their armor very well on motherships. But that was mostly just to test and see what we've got. Good Lord, we've been going for almost 3 hours already. Ships are hard. So far, it's the hardest part of the game. I think I've got a pretty good handle on Earth and everything that happens on Earth and building space assets. Now it's just figuring out space combat. Yeah, so that's one of the things, Anon, too. The missiles are really, really slow. And they also don't fire their rockets until they have locked onto their target. And sometimes that takes a while. This is the first time where I've been in a battle where I was actually outrunning my own missiles. All right, well, regardless, we need to start building. And we've got ships to build now. So we're going to do it was this one, the super, yeah, the BS Super MK. We're going to do 2 of those in Earth. 148 days, 111 days. Oh, whoops. $111 days, and we've got 5 slots. So we're going to do 2 of those. We get 6 slots. And then we're going to do 4 of the friggin' missile boats. All right, so those are a month and a half out. So that gets us to May, June, July. Mars will be online by then and able to defend itself. So we don't have to worry about anybody sending ships to an undefended station, I don't think. But yeah, we are miles away from plasma weapons. Yay, we got the H Orion drive. So I don't have to constantly reload. Let's save that as projects. And now that we have started building all of those ships, we're going to refit them with the H Orion drive. Once it's researched. Because that drive is much better than what we have currently. Is it it's the advanced mini mag that has a % chance to unlock. All right, and that was the dude that we were going to turn from the Protectorate. I can't see his score. I wish there was a way to split this out. I don't know why I can't separate these two. There we go. That's not the one we captured. I don't think. No, it is. We just hadn't captured him yet, that's all. All right, so we'll continue to investigate him. She's our turned counselor for the servants. What's finishing when? You know what? I want to get the H. Orion drive unlocked. $40,000 science. Woof! But look at that rating, 15.6 thrust. It's also really expensive. It's a good thing we've got a nice bank of fissiles. We've got a decent bank of unused mission control for our fleet, so I think we're good to go. Once we hit around 120, that's when they're going to declare war on us. All right, so we've got him captured. We want you to continue to keep him captured. And I want you to unlock his actual loyalty. And how are we doing on priorities? Back over 100K, so let's drop a couple of bucks into everybody's military research. Who are you at war with? Why are we at war with the US? I don't remember. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We have sea superiority, so they're going to stay blockaded. Offering support. All right, he's at 19, which means he needs 6, and he has 6, so we're good there. I think I'm going to continue to dump into science for him. She's at 21. She's good. I think I'm going to go espionage this time. You're Superman. Persuasion, since you're going to be turning. And you are also ready to go. You're doing, I think, straight admin for now, so that we can get rid of some of these. Which means you're now at 14. He needs 9, and he's getting 5, 9 from that. So that means we can get rid of one of these now and replace it with a regular org. This one's giving spoils. It's also giving security, which he's actually pretty good on. So I think this is the one we're going to sell. And we don't have anything that's not an admin. You know what? I'm going to sell this one. What do we got out here for you? All of the 2-stars are admins for some reason. Wait, why is he only getting 23 of 23? He should be getting 25. Is it only going to apply next unmodified status 14? Why? Did I misread that? Oh, I was looking at command. No, I wasn't. I just did the math wrong. I thought it said 16. So, back you come. Actually, which one? They're both spoils. No, that one's economy. All right, math for the win. You. All right, we've got his actual loyalty score. We can turn him next turn. All right, Mercury just finished. Let me take a look at that real quick. Yeah, we can start upgrading some of this stuff. So I'm going to upgrade one of my point defense to a battle station. And I'm going to upgrade you guys to nano factory manufacturing complex. Where is these? I honestly don't really need to upgrade these to solar farms. Maybe I do one and then get rid of the other one and replace it with something. Yeah, we're currently over by 634, so we'll do that one. We've got our ag complex. That takes the place of 3,000 crew. We're currently at 1,000. We should be fine there. All right, let's also upgrade one of you. All right, I think that's it for now. Oh, these stupid things. How much does this cost? That's fine. All right. We've got better nuclear torpedoes now. All right, and this is done this cycle. Ah, this is what we were looking for. The advanced mini mag Orion drive. All right, next up, we could go for plasma weapons. That is going to take quite a while to finish. I don't really care about UV combat lasers. It doesn't lead to anything. I prefer green phasers to UV. I think UV has better armor pen though. All right, let's take a look at the tech tree. What is Accelerando? I can't remember. That's for Global Empire. Yeah, we're a long ways away from that. I think we want phased array lasers, so let's get to that. That's already in progress. We don't have to worry about that. We don't care about that at all. Transnational management would be good to open up some CP. Which means we need applied artificial intelligence. Yeah, I think we go applied artificial intelligence until we can get phased array lasers unlocked. Whoops. And we can move that back and put that there. All right, we also need to save here because we do want to unlock the advanced H Orion drive. So I may save scum that if it doesn't pop on its own. All right, let's have you detain him one more time. And let's have you turn him. And let's have you assault alien assets, because we don't really care about that. That's really there as a placeholder. We're good, right? Think we're good? Yep, we're good. And then once he turns that, I think that's where we'll call it an episode, because that puts us at 3 hours. This was a good learning episode, though. Where did that go up? Earth, good. Should reduce my... All right, there we go. Now you just need to turn him. We don't care about Dusty Plasma Drive. There we go. So now we have both the Protectorate and the Servants. And, oh, I keep forgetting. I need to sabotage these guys. Yeah, this coordinated resource support needs to be sabotaged. What are they currently working on? Some of the stuff they're still working on is so basic. We could sabotage these, though. All right. I think that's where we're going to call it an episode for today. As always, appreciate everybody who stopped by to take a look today. Anon, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Chat, as always, appreciate you guys keeping it entertaining. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below. I do believe I will continue some Terra Invicta on stream before we start up our next Warhammer 3 campaign. But haven't fully decided yet, so we'll see how that goes. If you're new here, just stumbled across the channel, do please make sure you hit that subscribe button for me. It does help grow the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and we will see you back here for the next episode. Thanks a lot.